In a not so shocking survey, millennials have shown that they don't trust the system very much. Now, this report titled The Millennial Economy was done by Ernst Young and the Economic Innovation Group. Now, they had polled some 1,200 American millennials. Now, millennials are, of course, aged 18 to 34. And they found, unsurprisingly, that the major institutions, what you could call the establishment, millennials have little to no faith in. So let's start from the institutions that they have the most faith in and go down to the bottom. Now, the military, most millennials actually have a lot of confidence in, whereas 39% of them have little to some confidence and 6% are unsure. Now, the next one up is colleges, where 51% have a lot of confidence, 44% have little to some confidence, and 5% are unsure. Now, what's interesting about this, right? Colleges. Well, it's strange how they have a lot of faith in colleges, especially when it comes to student loans, right? The fact that it costs so much to attend colleges, but I get it. They're places of learning, so that makes sense. Now, from there, it gets worse. Only 31% of millennials have a lot of confidence in organized labor, whereas 59% have little or some confidence. So let me tell you a story. I was in a union, right? I worked in factories for years, right? Most of my adult life, I worked in manufacturing, so I was at least part of one union in a unionized shop. So I understand where that distrust is coming from. Older people in the union tend to be more protected than newcomers who join the union. In fact, when there was some negotiated cuts in the growth of wages, generally the people who had been there longer, i.e. older people that are members of the union, would normally get exempted from that cut. But younger people would end up making less, especially the ones who were just hired in. They wouldn't get those good pay raises. They wouldn't get those pay rates. So I think that definitely undermines people's trust in the union, especially if you're a younger person. And it goes to this whole seniority thing, right? Oh, you got seniority. Obviously, you get more benefits. You get more perks. You get treated better. I can understand that to an extent because you've been there longer and you've given the company more, and you've even given the union more. But at some point, it also makes people less likely to want to support that union. And that's not a good thing. That's kind of a dangerous thing. If you want to have a strong union, you've got to respect the younger people who are also going to be the future of that union. So I can understand why organized labor, who's essentially been neutered at this point by the right wing, by popular opinion, as well as by legislation, they have little faith in. Now, unsurprisingly, the next one is banks. You ask a millennial about the banks, you're going to get the answer of, they're fucking us over. They're fucking us over. This is like they did in 2008 when they helped crash the entire world economy. Remember, millennials grew up in this economy. They came of age in an economy after this crash where they got bailed out, but millennials haven't. Their parents haven't. So I can understand why there is such a distrust and no confidence in the banks. About 29% have a lot of confidence and 66% have little or some confidence. Now, another thing, not going to surprise you, the justice system. As you've seen with a lot of these instances of police shootings, not many people have confidence in the justice system, and that is not a surprise. You see cops that are getting off with essentially murder. Whereas the people that are filming it, let's take Eric Garner, for example, who was choked to death for selling loose cigarettes. The police are like, well, if he wouldn't have been so fat, he wouldn't have died. That's not our fault. No, it is your fault. You choked the guy out. And not only that, but you charged and gave prison time to the person who was filming it. No, we don't trust the justice system because we've been given reasons not to, because of the spread of cell phones, Because I think it's been this way for a long time. This isn't a new phenomenon with police getting off from killing people. Okay, and I'm not saying all police. There are great police officers, and there are great precincts. Dallas, for example, is an excellent example of how you actually do real good community policing. But this has happened all over, and it's not until the prevalence of cell phones and recordings and videos that we're actually seeing how bad the justice system has been to African Americans. And millennials, we're the plugged-in generation, right? We see all this stuff. We see the information. We see that our, black friends and family members, if you have them, and people that we know and people that are innocent that are just getting shit on by the justice system. We see the large amounts of African Americans unjustly put through the system for doing the same crimes as as white people that don't get punished in the same way. We see that and we're like, what the fuck, man? Our justice system is fucked up. That's why there is so little confidence in this. Just 27% of millennials have any confidence or have a lot of confidence in the justice system, while 68% have none. Silicon Valley. Now, this is an interesting one. Only 27% of millennials have a lot of confidence in Silicon Valley. Now, I'm not quite sure why. This is a surprise to me. This is kind of astounding because it's like, wait, Silicon Valley? There's a lot of millennials actually made a lot of money from Silicon Valley. I mean, their CEO, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook. He's a millennial. He started Facebook. He's very rich at this point. And there's a lot of Silicon Valley millennials and younger people who've actually made it quite big. So this number kind of astounds me. 49% have little or some confidence, and 24% are unsure. Now, as I said, I don't know why people would have less confidence in Silicon Valley. Maybe it has to do with the sexism that exists there. I don't know. That could be one of them. Moving on. Mayors, 26% of millennials have a lot of confidence, and 66% have little to none. Organized religion, once again, it's not going to surprise anybody here who is watching. 25% of millennials have confidence in it. 66% have little or some confidence. We know that our generation is actually the most, or the least religious generation that has come. So that's really no surprise. 22% have any sort of confidence in the federal government. 72% have little or some confidence. Once again, not going to surprise you, news comes next, where only 21% of millennials have a lot of confidence in news. That's because you're not getting the news from the news stations. It's become infotainment. And besides, most millennials have unplugged and no longer watch cable news, instead opting for independent news, online news, shows like this, for example, or the Young Turks, or whomever you choose, right? That's where you get most millennials get their news, and that's who they trust, definitely more than the corporate news media. Governors, 21%, people do not trust governors. And finally, corporate America. Only 20% of millennials have any sort of confidence in corporate America, whereas 72% of millennials have little or some confidence in corporate America. Not surprising. Not surprising at all. Now, this is essentially showing the distrust of the establishment. And look, a lot of these factors that lead into these low levels of trust for millennials is the fact that we've grown up in a shitty economy, the post 9/11 economy, with a lot of neoliberalism and terrible trade deals. Right? We're actually one of the worst off generations there's been. I mean, we are worse off than our parents. We're actually looking at not being as successful as our parents, not being able to own homes, not being able to pay off debt when it comes to school. And, it's a lot of what I believe the previous generations have done, policy-wise, that have ended up screwing us over. Now, there's a Gallup poll found that the general public actually feels a lot differently than millennials. In fact, 75% had some level of confidence in banks, 63% in big business, and 66% in the criminal justice system. Once again, showing that they don't really know what's going on because they're listening to corporate media. They don't see all the things that are going on. We're the most plugged in generation, as I keep mentioning. And we know what's going on. We've got something that they don't. Smartphones. It's not all about Snapchats. It's not all about selfies. No, we're connected to the news. And we're the most connected generation. Now, unsurprisingly, the last bit of stats that I'm going to give you on this story is that obviously this distrust has to do with economic anxiety. An overwhelming majority of millennials are concerned with not being able to afford unexpected healthcare bills. 74%, get a good paying job, 78%, or make enough money to eventually retire, 79%. That's a massive majority of people that are feeling really, really unsure about the future. And it's led to this distrust of the establishment. This is why an overwhelming majority of people, millennials, supported Bernie Sanders. It's not because of free shit. No, it's because of opportunity. Hey, with Bernie Sanders, we see policies that are different than what we've tried, than what we've experienced, than what standard politicians have offered. That's why we support Bernie Sanders, because these policies will give us opportunity so that we aren't worse off than our parents' generation, that we're actually being able to do things like start a business or own a home or buy a new car or not have to work 3 uniquely American jobs. This is why they supported Bernie Sanders. This is why people aren't supportive of Hillary Clinton, because she doesn't have these policies, or she didn't. This is why a lot of millennials distrust old politicians. You want to find out how to appeal to millennials, Democratic Party? Maybe you should start working on these issues instead of trying to worry and trying to pander to millennials by doing things like having her do the nay or stupid kind of shit like that. It's the economy. This is why people don't trust the establishment, is because it doesn't work for them. You get it to work for them and they'll come. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.